So we're approximately 1,060 pupils. We're an amalgamation of two schools, so two smaller schools, and we've been open now for 6-7 years. And obviously after COVID, where there was the online learning, we found that there were lots of pupils that were unable to make relationships. They'd been at home in bedrooms learning online. They didn't have the skills. They'd been quite isolated, and they didn't know how to make those positive relationships. So we found that after COVID, again, getting pupils in through the door was very difficult. You know, attendance was much lower than post-COVID. So we wanted to work really hard on building those positive relationships, getting the pupils in, and also the challenging behaviours that we've had since COVID. It's been very, very difficult, and building those relationships with the community and parents has been vital, because that was certainly lost during that time of isolation.
So WRAP stands for Wales Restorative Approaches Partnership. They're a not-for-profit social community organisation, and they have a wealth of experience, so working in education, in the community justice system, with families, in the community and businesses. So Caerphilly Local Authority procured and commissioned them. We wanted a company that would be able to work with schools, not just provide the training and then move on, but would support schools to properly embed it, because what we wanted to see was that culture change. So what WRAP will do is they will provide the training in restorative approaches, and they'll work really closely with the school leadership team, and they'll look at their school development plan, and they'll look at where are perhaps the gaps, or what are the areas that the school would like to develop, and they then provide a bespoke programme. So they will provide the restorative approaches training, and they'll continue to provide it over that 3-year period, and they'll support schools with how it's embedded, and that's how we will see that culture change that we need to see. So what we noticed post-COVID was that COVID had such a huge impact on staff wellbeing, their relationships with pupils, and we also noticed that pupil behaviour was somewhat off the rails. So whereas before it might have been a handful of pupils, it was much more widespread, and I think it's from pupils being cooped up in their bedrooms, not having the structure and the boundaries, and then suddenly they need to go back into school and almost remember how it was before and behave in that way. So that was having quite an impact, both in terms of relationships and staff and pupil well-being. So the beauty of WRAP really is that their focus is on building relationships, so positive relationships between staff, positive relationships between staff and pupils, and through training around restorative approaches and restorative conversations, that further enhances the relationship. So in terms of an LA, what we were really keen on, a couple of our key drivers are around improving attendance and reducing exclusions. And what we know is that you need really good staff well-being, you need really good and strong relationships between staff and pupils in order to start to see that positive impact on pupil behaviour and pupils actually wanting to come to school. So WRAP was the perfect solution really to be able to bring about all of those changes that we were hoping to see.
So as a primary cluster project, we were really keen to get on board with the WRAP project, having attended their conferences in Cardiff and looking at the impact that other schools and organisations had using their strategies. So we've worked really, really closely with the team. They've come into school and worked with us as an SLT, as a staff, and also as a group with the cluster to try and embed strategies, try and talk to us about policies, our school development plan, and look for how we're able to make the impact using the strategies and tools that they're giving us. So first and foremost, we did some staff insets, because it was really important that staff understood the impact and the reasoning of why we were taking on the project. So we've had 3 transition inset days with regards to what WRAP is all about, what's the benefit to staff. So one was around staff well-being, because happy staff, happy teachers, and then everybody's happy coming to school. And then we've looked at restorative approaches. So it's really important to get staff on board so they are with us, so we have that level of consistency, and obviously they are helping us to drive forward with standards and get pupils into school. We've done a lot of work with our primaries. So last year we spent a lot of time on the transition day with our year sixes. We had 200 pupils coming to us from 7 of our catchment schools, 6 out to catchment schools, and the day was very much about building those positive relationships. So they predominantly spent the day with their form tutors. We did lots of circle time activities, which RAP had given us, around energizers, mixers, so children were making new friends without them even realising, and the results of that were really, really positive. Lots of happy smiling faces, and it was really good for the form tutors because they were building those positive relationships before the children came in. We've done a lot of work on our attendance, so the attendance circles focusing predominantly on year 8 and year 10, because that's where our attendance figures are showing us that the need is greater at the moment. So staff have been trained on that, and again looking at barriers, what's stopping the children from coming into school. It's really positive. There's no blame culture. It's all about what we can do to support one another, and we're all in this together. And I think that's been really, really important in trying to embed these strategies, that is for the benefit of all. We want our children to be happy. We want them to come to school. We want them to want to come to school. And I think building those positive relationships has been absolutely key. You know, meeting and greeting on the doors, for example, having staff out on the zebra crossings in the morning, having that really welcome feel to the school, wanting to come in, you know, wanting the children to come in, and not just the pupils, but also the families as well, because they're key in this, in moving this forward. So it's about getting the parents on board and carers on board so they can understand that we're here to help and support, and to talk to us. And I think that's been key, you know, that two-way communication where we've been able to actively listen. There's no judgment made, and we're really trying to move forward in partnership. And I think there's a massive culture change, and for us it's about changing some of the attitudes of some of the staff, you know, and changing the mindset, and that's a very slow process, but we're certainly on the way to doing that as well. So very much about getting everybody on the same page, so everybody knows what the expectations are, that we're a school that is ready, respectful and safe, and it's been really key to communicate that message to staff, to pupils, to governors and parents. So for example, if there is a need for a repair of a relationship, the children know exactly what the process is. So we have an on-call system where we may have a relocation just to allow things to calm down, or to take 2 minutes outside to address what the issue is. And then we revisit that again then to have an open, honest conversation. So there's no blame, and it's an open opportunity for pupils to be listened to as well, because sometimes the staff, we don't always get it right. So it's really important that the pupil's voice is heard as well, and that we're able to try and look at what went wrong, what do we need to do next time to prevent that from happening. And I think that's been key in moving this forward. The children know what the expectation is. They know what will happen in the next stage. They know if we need to have a proper restorative conversation. Whoever's got the talking piece, they're the one that does the talking. And I think that's been massive in improving relationships. And we've certainly seen a decrease in the amount of on-calls that we've needed to do the relocations. And certainly with regards to the amount of pupils in our inclusion room has dropped significantly as a result of that, because staff are a lot calmer, because I think their well-being, they feel a lot more relaxed, that they know what the systems are, and the pupils are responding to that really, really positively.
Well, it's not always easy to establish cause and effect on some of the things that we've been talking about. They're cultural, they're long-term projects, but we're delighted to be able to say really that attendance is on the up. We're one of the most improved schools in terms of attendance in our county, and exclusions similarly are on the way down. So we've seen a significant reduction in the number of exclusions that we've had to use. We don't want to exclude young people from school, and it's certainly the case that we're doing that less and less often. We regularly review and ask pupils what they think about some of the fundamental issues in schooling. How happy are you? How safe do you feel in school? And again, the vast majority of those indicators are showing trends which we're really, really pleased with. So it's not easy to put markers down about cultural changes. It's not easy to track things in a really linear fashion. However, we think we've got some really good signs that something is making a difference, you know, a few years after COVID, in what continue to be difficult pastoral times. And for me, RAP has played a really significant part in that.
So we're going to continue to work with the RAP project as a 3-year project. Moving forward now, we are now looking to do some peer mediation training. So at the moment, the restorative is very much led by the staff. So we want the children to take some ownership on that, to develop their leadership skills. So that's the next step for us. And to continue the culture change, you know, training more staff up. That's quite difficult sometimes when you have new staff and you lose staff. So making sure that we're keeping on top of the training. And just making sure that everybody is aware of what our aim and the goal is with RAP, and that's to build those positive relationships, maintain them, and how to repair them positively moving forward.